Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of RE Radar. Once again, I'm your host and realtor, Nathan Mathisen, and today it is just going to be me talking to you guys, as you can see, but I'm still going to add you guys some great value and give you guys some great information. As today, what I'm going to be discussing is what a buyer should be doing to get ready to buy. What are their steps? What should you be doing when you're thinking about buying in order to get yourself ready to buy? And then, since it's a solo episode, I'll then also be wrapping up today, doing a dive into a random US city and checking out that real estate market. But first, we're going to jump in and see what should a buyer be doing in order to get ready and be in a situation where they can buy when the time is right. And now, obviously, as I'll say almost every episode, we could probably check, and it's probably been mentioned in almost, if not all, the episodes of RE Radar, and that's that it obviously depends on you. It depends on the buyer, as each situation is different. For example, just thinking if a buyer owned a home and they were looking to sell that home before buying their next home, that situation is going to be much different than someone who's never owned a home before. And we'll get into that later down the road here in this podcast. But before getting into those maybe specific situations, let's take a wide view of this and kind of look at what is going to matter for everyone. And that's understanding the time frame, understanding the timetable of what's going to happen, when's going to happen. And this is something you need to understand. It could be 2 weeks. You could set out to start looking to buy a home and you find that home in 2 weeks. Or it could be something where you set out to find that home and you can't find it. You can't find it. You can't find it. And it's been months and months and months. And that's how it works. Buying a home can be very variable. So going into this process, you're going to want to understand that it might not be an instantaneous thing in finding that perfect home for you. But it could be a scenario where you set out with your agent, you start looking at some homes, and within the first week or two, you find that home. You find that home, they're like, this is the one, this is the dream home, this is what I've been looking for, this is what I want. You have to be ready to buy then. That's what I'm getting at here is you have to be in a situation where you can right then, boom, send in that offer, have the finances backed up, and get that home. Otherwise, that dream scenario of yours, that scenario where you're like, this was easy finding my home. I found it just like that. It was one of the first few I looked at. It could turn into a nightmare scenario. As now, not only are you not going to be able to get that home if you weren't ready to buy it, you're also going to be comparing all the later homes you look at to one of those first ones that you thought was the one. You thought this was the perfect home. And now every home after that, you're comparing it to that. And if you can't ever find a home that fits that criteria, that matches that old home, you're going to be disappointed. And so being ready, it means you've got to have those finances in order. And that's with cash or if you're getting a loan. If you're buying in cash, you're going to want to have that cash available. You're going to want to have it not tied up overseas or tied up in anything at all. And if you're getting a loan, you're going to want to have a pre-approval. You're going to want to know what you can actually afford before you even start looking at homes. Because once again, if you don't have that pre-approval, you don't really know what you can afford. And say you start looking at homes and you're going out there and you're looking at a $700,000, $800,000 home, and you see this home and you're like, oh my, this is perfect for me. I want this. This is the one. And then you go and get that pre-approval, you go and get the underwritten process to get that loan, and lo and behold, you're only approved for a loan up to $520,000 or something like that. You're going to be so disappointed. You're going to be dejected because then not only are you not able to get that $700,000 home or $800,000 home, you're going to be comparing all those homes to those original homes you were looking at and like, these homes all suck. But really, it's just, you can't get that for that price range of the $520,000 versus $700,000 home. Getting a pre-approval early is best and will set you up to have success when you start looking for homes. And if you want to learn more about this process, then check out episode 5 of RE Radar, where I talked with Senior Loan Officer of Highlands Mortgage, Tina Mitchell, and we dove into all of that good stuff on financing and the importance of it. Now, not only though does your financing have to be in order for you to be ready to buy a home and set out to start looking, you also want to be mentally ready. Buying a home is a massive undertaking. It is very likely the most expensive thing you're going to buy in your life until you buy your next home. And you're going to want to be 100% in on this. You don't want doubt creeping up at the end. As if you're not completely sold on a home, take a step back, think about it, talk with people you trust and see, is it the right time for me to be buying a home? Buying a home should bring you personally excitement and joy. And something that is also very important, not just going out there and buying the first home you see. Well, that one home, that first home you check out, it might be the one. It might be great. It might be perfect. But especially if you're a first-time home buyer, you want to expose yourself to more and more homes. You want to expose yourself to the market and see what's really out there. Yes, maybe you've been in hundreds of homes in your lifetime, but you weren't really in that mindset of a buyer and you weren't really thinking about buying a home at those times, and you weren't paying attention to all the minor little details that are different in each home. And I'd even say if you're someone who, this is mostly for first-time home buyers as well, because if you've already owned a home, or especially if you've owned multiple homes, you're going to already know what you like, much more than someone who's never owned a home personally will know. So if you go out there, it's your first time buying a home, and you're thinking, okay, I want to buy a single family home. I don't want to buy a condo. I would still recommend you go out there and at least look at a condo or two. See if something about that condo attracts you to it more than those single family homes. Or maybe there's something in your head, like some sort of misconception, some sort of thing you were told way back when about condos, or vice versa. If you're someone looking for a condo specifically that you don't want a single family, I would still recommend to check out a single family, as you're going to get vastly different things in vastly different price ranges. So it's always good to check out as many potential styles as you can, because you might realize you actually do like, or you might realize you're okay with something you thought you were completely against. Like, say with a condo, you were thinking you really wanted a yard and you really wanted a big garden space, but after seeing the pros of having a condo, you're willing to forego that garden for the other benefits that a condo could give you. Looking at these properties, what you really want to be doing is you want to be finding out what you like, what you don't like, and then what you need. What you need and what you like are not the same thing. You're going to have to separate those wants and those likes from those needs. And that's very important. What I mean by that is there are things that you would love to have in a home. Maybe you really want an island in your kitchen. Maybe you really want a certain layout. Maybe you really want a nook. Maybe you really want, I could keep going on and listing all these things that you might think you really want. Those aren't always needs. A need is something you cannot go without. And for example, just speaking on how these needs and wants can get confused, and sometimes you can think something is something you need when it's really not, is with just hardwood floors, or with carpet, with the opposite maybe even. You might be thinking you really want hardwood floors. You need hardwood floors, you're saying. Do you need hardwood floors? more often than not, someone doesn't actually need the certain flooring type. It's simply a stylistic feature they prefer. And you can get that switched out. So I would say if everything else about a home is perfect, everything else, then you should not say, nope, I don't want it. It has too much carpet. There's not enough hardwood floor in it. Then that shouldn't be a valid reason for you to dismiss that home, as you can always get that carpet replaced with hardwood floors. So just don't let that hardwood floor or not having that hardwood floor hold you back from getting into that home. Because when you get into that home, you can then replace that carpet. And I was talking with a contractor and using just some common types of wood and measurements. The cost for a 2.25-inch red oak unfinished would be $15 per square foot, while pre-finished would be $13 per square foot. And that is including material, install, sanding, and finishing for these respective hardwood floors. So let's say you've got a home you're looking to buy, you like everything about it, it's all perfect, everything fits your criteria, fits your needs, except there's carpet upstairs. And you're like, I didn't want any carpet in my home. Well, let's say it's 1,000 square feet. I mean, you could get that replaced with hardwood floor for, depending on if you go with those two types, $13,000 to $15,000. And obviously, that's no small cost. But then also there are some cheaper ways you could do it as well. It's no small cost, but it's still not something that I feel should completely hold up a deal on a home that is perfect otherwise. As one of the benefits also for you would be if you buy that home and say year two, you decide, all right, I'm going to do this project. We've saved up a little money. You get that hardwood floor installed. You are instantly increasing the value of that property and building your equity up. So that's a pro right there. Now, just listing off some other things that I feel shouldn't really be deal breakers. A big one is color. And that's something that some people might think, well, obviously. But you'd be surprised. Sometimes someone can go into a home when they're looking at it and be like, nah, I don't like it. The color's off. And that happens. But that really shouldn't be something that pushes you away. The color is changeable. And that's what it really comes down to. There's a lot in a house that is changeable and a lot in a house that is changeable for relatively a low price. So do not let those things change your mind on a home that otherwise is perfect. The needs of a client are more often or not those things that are not changeable or are very expensive if you want to be changing them. So what are examples of different needs you might have? Location. Location is a need as, let's say, someone works in a certain office. They are going to need to be around that office. They're going to need to be in that location in order to commute to work back and forth. They're not going to be willing to make some super long commute. So location is a need in that scenario. Other scenarios, it could be they need to be close to a certain family member. Those are all valid reasons for you to be looking in a certain location and for you not to want to look in other areas. Another potential need could be bedrooms. I mean, if we're talking about a large family with 5 people in it, maybe even 6 people, they're going to need a home with multiple bedrooms. They're not going to be able to buy a 1-bedroom home and be equivalent for that family. That's not going to be enough. So that's going to be a need for that family to be searching for a home that has enough bedrooms for their family. Now, another thing that is along those similar lines as bedrooms is bathrooms. Bathrooms, though, I don't feel are quite as important. Bathrooms aren't as important for everyone. As let's say you're 1 or 2 people, as 1 bathroom should be fine, right? 1 bathroom's plenty. Even for 3 people, you could say 1 bathroom is plenty. Yes, 2 bathrooms or 1.5 bathroom could be better, but it's not going to be a need for that group of people. It's going to be more of a want. A need for bathrooms could be, let's say, again, you got a large family, you're going to need more than 1 bathroom. It's simple as that. You're not going to be able to really function nearly as well with a 1 bathroom if you've got 6 people living in a home. So in that scenario, a need would be more than 1 bathroom. So you want your buyer to be able to separate those wants from those needs. You separate those out, and it's going to make the process much easier. Now, let's do a recap real quick of what I've been talking about so far. First up, buyer is going to have their financing in order because the timetable could be quick. It could be you start looking and you find that home. You're going to want to be ready to go at a moment's notice. Next up is figuring out what you want, looking around. Don't just look at the exact same homes over and over again. Spread your wings, check out different styles, and see what you like. The buyer then must separate what he likes from what he needs. What do they need? What is a deal breaker and what shouldn't be a deal breaker? So, what else should this buyer be prepared for? They should be prepared for the process, and that's in the hands of their realtor to get them there. The realtor is the expert here. They are the person who is guiding this transaction along the ways. So you want to make sure your client understand each step, what they're going to need to do, and also what you're doing. Especially for some clients, they don't want to be just hung out to dry. They don't want to just be sitting there waiting, not hearing from you just because there's a step that you're waiting for someone else to take care of. You want to keep your client informed throughout the entirety of the process. As the more information that your client knows, the more comfortable they're going to be during the process. And this is just going to make them happier in the end when they close on this home. Now, for a buyer that is looking to sell their home first before they end up buying their next home, so the timetable for this is going to be very big as you're going to be selling a home. You're going to want to be closing on that home more than likely when you really start hammering down on that search and finding that next home. You're not going to want to have this big gap where you sold your first home and now you're trying to find a new home, but you can't find it. You're stuck renting somewhere. You're not going to want that. Vice versa, the same. You're not going to be able to buy that next home before the first one sells. So having the timetable and understanding the structure of this and scheduling it out is going to be huge with talking with your real estate agent. And just wrapping up, as I've been touching on recently, a huge component of this is that real estate agent educating their client. If you educate your client's going to be more comfortable, your client's going to be more confident, and your client's going to likely be able to get themselves a better home than if you didn't take them step by step along this process, informing them along the ways and making sure they were ready and committed to buying versus someone who's just, I don't know. Do I want to buy? If you are able to educate that person, then they should have everything available to them for them to make that decision. Versus if you didn't educate them, then maybe they're unwilling or to buy because they simply don't understand the grand scheme of things. They don't get the whole picture of it. Now, transitioning over to the Market Watch segment, and like every time before, how I pick this city is I go to, I think it's earthroulette.com. In the US, I just go to, and I just click the button and it spits out a city for me, and then I do a little dive into it. Today, what that was is Monterey, California. Now, Monterey is located on the central coast of California. It's got a population of 28,958 people as of 2024, and that's down. It's down 4.06% from 2020 census when it was 30,184. Now, if you recall, this is not my first California city. Previously here on RE Radar, I did a dive into Long Beach, California, and I saw the same thing, a declining population. Long Beach, California's market in real estate was still going up though. Is that the case in Monterey? Yes, and it's somewhat similar actually. Now, Monterey has an average list price of 1.3 million as of April 2023. That number was 1.237 million. So it's up 1.1% year over year. Long Beach was up 1.4% year over year. So similar increases, well, they're both decreasing in population. And while the real estate market is technically up, it really doesn't seem to be increasing at that great of a rate. As you can see, it's 1.1 and 1.4%. And I could attribute that to that population decline. But California is still for some seen as some sunny, safe haven that's very nice and people want to live there. So that's allowing this real estate market to keep up and to keep being strong. And in Monterey, actually, though, the home sold price is lower. What I talked about before was the home list price, which is increasing. The home sold price is lower this April at 1 million flat compared to 1.03 million in April 2023. And now Monterey is not the biggest of cities. It does not have a lot of homes on the market right now. As of when I'm looking at this, it had about 84 homes available. And those 84 homes had a price range of 435,000 to 6.5 million. So what that tells me a little bit is there's not a lot out there, which means each single thing can affect these numbers that I'm talking about much greater. Now, digging a little deeper, Monterey is a seller's market. More people are looking to buy in Monterey than are looking to sell. Again, makes sense as we're seeing on inventory. Inventory is not that great. And median days on market are then 27 in Monterey. Last April 2023, that number was 31. So days on market are decreasing, and that could be slightly due to the inventory being lower. So when a house comes on the market that is sought after, it is going to go a little bit quicker. And then, of course, that also makes sense with interest rates. Last year, interest rates were not quite seen as they are now. Right now, they're seen as they're going to be dropping, people are saying, sometime, compared to last year when that wasn't really in sight. So what does your money, though, buy in Monterey? Well, here I have pulled up, for those watching on YouTube, you'll see some of these images here. A home that just sold on May 3rd. It'd been on the market for 4 days. The home was listed at $1,450,000. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 1,924 square foot home on almost an 11,000 square foot lot. This home's not though really located near the ocean. Looking at it, it doesn't have the most modern updates, and yet that home still sold for a huge price tag, which points towards Monterey being that expensive city still with real estate, with that median price of 1.3 million, as this home sold for, or it was listed for that 1.45 million. And this is just another example of that California city like Long Beach. People are leaving, but the real estate market is still holding strong enough. We'll see what it happens if the populations, though, keep declining. Will the real estate market be able to maintain this hold? Now, that is all the time I have got for today. Thank you so much for joining me on RE Radar. Once again, if you have any questions about what we talked about or anything about real estate in general, I'd be happy to help you out and answer those for you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.